Dia, thank you for joining us. Tell us about Everlectric and what the business offers.
So Everlectric provides electric vehicles for lease, right? We provide electric vehicles, charging infrastructure. We provide all the maintenance for our clients. So we are a B2B business looking at clients in the last mile logistics and the logistics industry.
Can you take us back to when and how the business was conceptualized and formed?
I suppose as entrepreneurs, we exist to solve a problem, and we just realized that there were a couple of pain points that logistics players were faced with, right? First pain point being the rising cost of fuel. And secondly, the fact that they are concerned about their carbon emissions and they want to reduce them. And so that is actually what led us to putting together this solution to enable clients or our future clients to decarbonize without the headache.
And are you finding there's significant uptake or interest in electric vehicles by South African corporates? Or are you finding that there is a significant education process that needs to be undergone in terms of the benefits of EVs?
So we are finding that there's significant interest, but also the education needs to happen. So it's both, right? There is the business that says, I would like to reduce my costs. And if your solution can do that, let's see how that can happen. And there's also the ones who say ESG is important to them, or even both. Mm-hmm. And just based on that, if you do the calculations and you see that on a total cost of ownership, running an electric vehicle at certain kilometers is actually cheaper than running an internal combustion engine, you can imagine that any business will then sit up and listen. And then if you add the fact that actually you'll be reducing your carbon emissions while you do that, then, it's a sale.
Maybe you can touch on some of the successes you've had in the business, but also in the same vein, some of the challenges or limitations you've experienced.
Look, we've had a number of successes, and I think for us, being a new business, moving from being an Excel spreadsheet and a PowerPoint presentation to running a proof of concept in South Africa, and then eventually running now commercially in fleets with more than 60 vehicles on the road day to day. That is actually a success. And signing up some of the major logistics players in the country, the likes of DSV and the last mile delivery, even retailers like Woolworths signing up, that was a major success. But some of the challenges would be just, the education of the market out there, just getting your client to sort of see what you're seeing, first of all. And then there's also the fact of being a startup, kind of bringing this new technology, how do you navigate the funding space, for instance? So those were some of the challenges. But I like to say, even those brought, opportunities as well. But I think another challenge would have been like the legislative landscape in South Africa, with the punitive import duties that are still levied, with even load shedding is one of the questions that people ask. So those are things that we've sort of put together our solution to solve the problems. So even with the challenges, we've been able to overcome them.
Load shedding, you've touched on it. How has it impacted the business, and how do you foresee it impacting the business in the near future?
So it wouldn't be an interview about EVs without asking the question, especially in South Africa, right? So I think as a business, there's something that actually say, just to paint the picture, think about your cell phone at stage 6 of load shedding. You've got an app that tells you when load shedding will be, and so you schedule around load shedding. And that's exactly what we have done. We have built intelligence in our offering. So we are live in our vehicles, we are live in our chargers. We know when load shedding will be, and we direct our clients to charge outside of that load shedding time. So that's, one way of doing it. The other way is that we are charging off solar as well. And so, as long as the sun is shining, my client is able to charge. But again, another thing which is like a natural hedge to this whole solution is that if you're charging, let's say on a slow charger, on an AC charger, you need between 4 and 6 hours to charge your vehicle. If your vehicle comes back to the warehouse, let's say at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. and gets out to deliver again the next morning at 7 a.m., you've got sort of 13 hours in which you need to find 5 to 6 hours to charge. And with the intelligence that we have built, all that my driver needs to do, or the driver of the client needs to do, is put the gun into the vehicle, and my backend will start charging when there's no load shedding and when it's cheaper to do so. So that is what we've been able to do. The biggest thing about what we do is to ensure that our clients' vehicles are charged all the time and they don't run out of charge in any year. But maybe an important fact, we've run more than 3 million kilometers as of 2024 in May, more than 3 million kilometers of EVs, and we've had 100% operational uptime. So not even load shedding has affected us. I'm not saying we haven't hit a pothole, that's South Africa, but I'm saying we have not stopped at the side of the road because we ran out of charge, because we managed that in the back. And when our driver gets to 20% of charge, there's actually, the vehicle will let him know, will actually call to say you are running out of range, rather you go back to base and charge, or you can charge at another charger. So we're able to manage that for our client as well.
And then just looking to the future, what is your vision for the business over the next, say, 5 years?
You see, I think the light delivery vehicle sector and the delivery sector is about 13% of all vehicles that are out there on the road. And so we haven't even scratched the surface in terms of what is possible, right? And so we would like to, explore what is possible in this segment of the market. But we are also not just doing it for us. I think we exist and we are selling the solution to clients, but we are stimulating demand in the back end for South Africa, which will then have the added benefit of local OEMs, original equipment manufacturers or manufacturers of vehicles to locally manufacture, even for our consumption or even for export. So we might be running this in our little world, in our little company, but it actually has the added benefit of stimulating the market and actually making electric mobility, happen in the country. So yeah. That's what we see happening. Us and the likes of other people. I mean, there's other players as well. But I think, the pie is big enough, and the more people are involved in this industry, the more it will make sense.